And all of this is still based on Xiao Wu showing mercy. Otherwise, he wouldn't just suffer dislocations. Although Xiao Wu's soul power isn't pure enough yet to shatter his bones without killing him, the pain of having all his joints dislocated is unbearable. Even if he recovers later, it will leave hidden injuries. At this moment, a series of footsteps sounded, gradually approaching. That old woman from the brothel said Unhappy was coming this way with a little girl. This guy, did he meet some exceptional goods and decide to keep them for himself? The speaker had a magnetic and deep voice, a standard baritone. If judged by voice alone, he might have an irresistible charm for women over 30. This guy insists on acting alone, and now we have to come find him. Lao Goose, you've picked a good spot today, especially that silk stocking girl. Just looking at her makes me drool. If the first voice was charming, then the second one was the opposite extreme, hoarse like a duck's quack, and with its lewd content, it immediately gave a disgusting feeling as if falling into a dung heap. Upon hearing these two voices, Unhappy, who was semi-conscious, suddenly felt a surge of energy. Fortunately, his jawbone wasn't dislocated, so he mustered the little soul power he had left and shouted, Lao Goose, Tianya, I'm here. The conversation between the two abruptly stopped, accompanied by hurried footsteps. Soon, two figures arrived in front of Unhappy. Are you unhappy? The charming baritone voice sounded incredulous. By the moonlight, this person appeared tall, with broad and solid shoulders. Although his long hair was somewhat messy, it carried a hint of wildness. The most striking feature was his eyes. They were extremely small, almost like slits. It was hard to tell if he was opening or closing them when viewed head-on. Plus, the swelling around his eyes made it even easier to overlook those slits. Just this aspect alone completely ruined his perfect baritone voice. Unhappy, how did you end up like this? Another person quickly came to Unhappy's side and squatted down, with a serious expression on his face. But his appearance was even more lewd than Unhappy and the baritone voice. Simply put, except for his hair looking somewhat normal, there was basically nothing normal about him. He was so skinny that he seemed to be all bones, his eyes were very large, but the eyeballs were yellow, shining with a sinister light. His two mustaches trembled as he spoke, and the crow's feet at the corners of his eyes could probably suffocate a whole class of flies at once. These two people who appeared in front of Unhappy looked about the same age as him. At this moment, both of them had put away their playful smiles and looked serious. The skinny and lewd man quickly felt Unhappy's body, muttering curses from time to time. His yellow eyes now had a hint of red in them. What a fierce method. Unhappy is in a bad state this time. Not only are his joints dislocated, but 5 ribs are broken and 4 are fractured. His cervical vertebrae are dislocated and fractured in 3 places. It will take months to recover. The most important thing is, that thing of Unhappy's is cooked. Cooked. Tianya, what do you mean by cooked? The baritone voice, referred to as Lao Goose, was surprised. Tianya, the lewd and skinny man, smiled bitterly. Haven't you smelled the scent of roasted chicken? Unhappy is in big trouble this time. Bones recover well, but this roasted chicken. As he spoke, Tianya raised his right hand, accompanied by a beautiful green light. A broken blade had appeared in his hand, with 5 soul rings also appearing simultaneously. 1 white, 2 yellow, and 2 purple. Although the soul rings were common, Tianya was undoubtedly a genuine soul king above level 50. The blade in his hand was a broken one, seemingly broken at the waist, with a blade width of about 4 fingers, a length of 1 foot 2 inches from the hilt to the broken edge, and an 8-inch long handle. It shimmered with green light throughout. Clearly, he was a battle soul master with a martial weapon soul. Unhappy, sorry, if I don't cut it off quickly, it may get worse. With a flash of green light, Tianya raised his hand, and with a puffed sound, something seemed to fall to the ground. Strangely, Unhappy didn't make a sound, but tears of humiliation and resentment flowed from his eyes. I'll get revenge. I'll make them suffer. 7 days of rest quickly passed, and it was time to start classes again. Since the day a few of them secretly went out to torment the despicable Uncle Bulu after that, a few days had passed, and gradually this matter was forgotten. Except for Ma Hongjun, the others didn't know that Bulu had been roasted like a chicken. Ma Hongjun also became much more restrained because of this incident, and in the following days, he didn't go to Soto City again. It seemed like his evil fire had also stopped erupting due to intense training. After breakfast, when the familiar bell rang for class, Tang San and the others arrived at the training ground on time. Today, the sunlight was exceptionally bright, the sky was cloudless, although it was still early morning, the sunlight already had a somewhat scorching feeling. The master's shadow stretched long in the sunlight, standing with his arms crossed in front of his chest, waiting for the 7 people to stand properly. From the time I started teaching you until now, 3 months have passed. With the supervision and assistance of all the teachers, you have laid some foundation for your bodies. But to become outstanding soul masters, this is far from enough. It is worth mentioning that in the devilish training of the past 3 months, the other teachers were not idle, which Ma Hongjun only learned about after he slacked off once. The teachers hid in the dark corners of their training routes, supervising them. The consequence of Ma Hongjun's laziness directly led to a 50% increase in the training volume of everyone within 3 days. The master always adhered to the principle of collective responsibility. One person makes a mistake, and everyone pays for it. This is the principle of unity. So, starting today, I will proceed to the second stage of teaching for you. According to what Flender said, you have all been to the Soto Great Soul Arena. There will be the place of your teaching for the next period. There is no time limit for this teaching. Whenever you get the Silver Soul Badge, the training ends. During this period, I will arrange for you to stay in the nearest hotel to the Great Soul Arena, and you will have to manage your own food and accommodation. As long as you have the ability, the income you get from the Great Soul Arena will be considerable. Upon hearing the master's words, the students all breathed a sigh of relief. Going to the Great Soul Arena to participate in soul fights would definitely be much easier than the master's devilish training. But, remember, obtaining the Silver Soul Badge is not only in one-on-one soul fights, but also in group battles. You will fight under the team name of Shrek 7 Devils. Team battles not only allow everyone to gain personal points, but also have a team point system, which is not present in 2-on-2 soul fights. Of course, if you want to obtain the title of Silver Soul faster, you can also freely form teams to participate in 2-on-2 soul fights. However, there are a few restrictions you must remember. First, do not reveal your appearance or tell your opponents your names during soul fights. Everything is fought under pseudonyms. Second, including Tang San himself, no one is allowed to use hidden weapons. Third, regardless of victory or defeat, each person must participate in at least 2 fights per day. Oscar complained a bit. Master, Rong Rong and I are auxiliary soul masters. Do we also need to obtain the Silver Soul Badge? The master said calmly, or you can choose to continue training as before until the others get the Silver Soul Badge. Master, I suddenly realized that your decision to let us go to the Soul Arena to improve our combat experience was so wise. Please forget what I just said. Ning Rongrong originally wanted to raise the same question. Seeing Oscar struggling to speak, she couldn't help but secretly rejoice and chuckled on the side. The master had always been decisive. After letting all the students tidy up their belongings, he immediately took them and headed to the Soto Academy. Accompanying them were the 2 former deans of the academy, Flender and Zhao Wujin. The other 3 teachers remained at the academy. Flender couldn't help but secretly admire the master's decision. The students staying in Soto City, taking care of their own food and accommodation, naturally relieved the academy of the pressure of management. He, Zhao Wujin, and the master could also stay in his shop. They could still supervise the students' combat progress as usual. The soul fights in the Great Soul Arena were all conducted at night. The group arrived in Soto City and chose an ordinary hotel near the Great Soul Arena to stay. Because it was close to the Great Soul Arena, although it was ordinary, the room rates were twice as expensive as other places. Of course, for 7 students who earned at least 10 gold coins a month, or even hundreds of gold coins, it wasn't much of a burden. After all, there weren't many places as expensive as the Rose Hotel. After arranging for the students to stay, the master called the 7 of them to Tang San's room. And now you can form teams freely to decide which type of soul fights to participate in. The Great Soul Arena generally starts with 1-on-1 and 2-on-2 fights, while the group battles, although separate from the first 2, start later and are considered the most attractive battles in the Great Soul Arena. By staggering the time, you can also earn more ticket revenue from spectators. You must participate in a group battle every day, and you can freely choose another fight. I don't oppose if you want to participate in 3 fights, provided you manage your soul power well. As soon as the master finished speaking, Oscar immediately showed a pitiful look and looked at Dai Mubai. Boss Dai, how about we participate in the 2-on-2 together? What do you think? Although I've just reached level 30, my support abilities should still be helpful to you. Otherwise, I don't know when I'll ever accumulate enough points to get the silver Dolua badge. Dai Mubai was taken aback for a moment. His original intention was to participate in the 2-on-2 soul duels with Zhu Zhuqing, or to compete individually in the 1-on-1 matches. Looking at Oscar's pleading eyes, after some thought, he nodded, all right. Among the 7, in terms of combat power, Dai Mubai and Tang San were obviously the strongest. Oscar immediately chose Dai Mubai, prompting Ning Rongrong's gaze to turn to Tang San. With a pleading tone, she said, third brother, would you help me? Tang San paused, but I've already formed a team with Xiao Wu. Quickly joining the conversation, Ma Hongjun chimed in, Rongrong, how about me? I'm willing to participate in the 2-on-2 with you. You. Forget it. Ning Rongrong gave the chubby boy a disdainful look. You can barely handle yourself, let alone help me. The master suddenly spoke up. No, I suggest you do consider teaming up with Ma Hongjun for the 2-on-2. Ning Rongrong asked with confusion, why? The master calmly explained, because you and Tang San are at different levels. In the case of participating in the 2-on-2, if one soul master reaches a higher level, then you must compete at a higher level. Tang San has already broken through to level 30, while you are still at level 20. If you two cooperate in the 2-on-2 soul duels, you'll have to face opponents at the 30-level tier. Generally, when soul masters participate in the soul duels, unless they are extremely confident or their martial soul has significant advantages, they will compete in the same level tier, at least surpassing half of the level of that tier. For example, in the 20-level tier, the participants are usually above level 25, and the same goes for the 30-level tier. Although Tang San's martial soul is special, participating in 1-on-1 might be manageable, but if you add yourself, your 7-treasure glazed tile clan supreme spirit ability, while powerful, still may not be enough to make up for the gap between him and opponents who are 2 levels higher. However, if you and Ma Hongjun participate together, it's different. He's already at level 28, with a significant advantage in his martial soul, and combined with your support, the probability of winning can reach over 70%. Although Ning Rongrong was unwilling, she had to admit that the master was right. However, she ultimately did not choose Ma Hongjun and instead turned her gaze to Zhu Zhuqing. Seventh sister, let's work together. What do you say? Okay. Zhu Zhuqing's response was straightforward. In Ning Rongrong's view, although Zhu Zhuqing's soul power was 1 level lower than Ma Hongjuan's, it was evidently much stronger to work with her than with someone uncontrollable like certain someone with raging flames. She didn't want to be taken advantage of by her teammate during the 2-on-2 soul duels. Ma Hongjun protested in a strange tone, Rongrong, you're discriminating against me, I object. Ning Rongrong giggled and used her gentle tactics. Fourth brother, you're so strong, it would be a pity to team up with me. Besides, you can definitely win on your own. Right. Ma Hongjuan's immunity to beautiful women was already low. Seeing Ning Rongrong's gentle smile, he couldn't say a word of refusal. He reluctantly accepted the reality. How you participate in the soul duels is up to you. Here, take these masks. Don't go together. Wear them during the soul duels. Also, speak less while on stage. Try not to let the opponents know your age. As he spoke, the master took out 7 pre-prepared masks from his soul tool bracelet. The masks were familiar to everyone, bearing the emblem of Shrek Academy, the green monster Shrek symbol. Dai Mubai took one of the masks and put it on his face. Although the craftsmanship of the mask was ordinary, after fitting it to his face, it didn't obstruct his eyes, mouth, or nose. During team battles, you will compete under the name of the Shrek 7 Devils. For individual events, you can come up with your own titles for the 2-on-2. For 1-on-1, I've thought of nicknames for each of you. Use these nicknames during the matches. Just mention it during registration, and your real names won't appear in the arena. Everyone understood the master's intention. Their ages were too young, especially for those like Tang San and Xiao Wu, who had reached the 30 level at the age of 12, which was astounding in the Soul Master world. Once they became famous in the Great Spirit Arena, the Spirit Hall would likely come knocking at their doors first. Oscar curiously asked, So what are our titles? The master replied, Dai Mubai will use his original evil eye white tiger. You will remain as your wandering sausage. As for Xiao San, let's call him Thousand Hand Azura, what do you think? Xiao Wu immediately objected, this is no good. Let's change it. It's not cool at all. Silvergrass sounds awful. The master looked at Tang San, who didn't express an opinion. A hint of a smile appeared on his face. He was always very satisfied with his disciple. Then tell me, what do you think should be used? Dai Mubai said, although third brother usually seems honest, once he's furious, his killing intent is heavier than any of ours. I suggest we call him Thousand Hand Azura. Azura means a demon of slaughter. It could also give the opponents some intimidation. The master turned to Tang San, what do you think? Tang San replied, I don't mind, master, you decide. The master said, then let's go with Thousand Hand Azura. Ma Hongjun, I've already given you a title. Let's call you Phoenix of the Raging Flames, how about that? The chubby boy chuckled, thank you, master, that's good. How should I put it? I'm also a phoenix. Beside him, Oscar muttered, yeah, a phoenix. But I think Phoenix of the Roasting Grill sounds better. Ma Hongjun angrily retorted, Oscar, are you deliberately undermining me? By now, Xiao Wu had already approached the master, putting on a pitiful look, master, what about me? Please give me a nice name. The master smiled, you use soft skills, your body is as flexible as boneless, coupled with your rabbit martial soul and charm skill. How about calling you Gentlebone Charm Rabbit? That sounds nice. Xiao Wu suddenly smiled happily. Ning Rongrong's martial soul is the 7 treasure glazed pagoda. Nothing describes you better than the 7 treasure glazed, and it also provides some concealment for yourself, considering that your martial soul is the same as that of the direct disciples of the 7 treasure glazed clan. As for Zhu Zhuqing, her martial soul is most suitable as her title. Phantom Cat of the Netherworld is a good name. At that moment, the Shrek 7 Devils finally had their own titles. Evil Eye White Tiger Dai Mubai, Wandering Sausage Oscar, Thousand Hand Azura Tang San, Phoenix of the Raging Flames Ma Hongjun, Gentlebone Charm Rabbit Xiao Wu, 7 Treasure Glazed Ning Rongrong, Phantom Cat of the Netherworld Zhu Zhuqing. None of them expected that the titles obtained in this inconspicuous inn would not only accompany them for life, but also resonate throughout the continent. The Shrek Seven Devils team truly came together from that day onwards. To ensure they were in optimal condition, everyone stayed in the hotel to cultivate their soul power, waiting for the night to arrive. At present, all 7 of them were at the iron-ranked Soul Master level. Among them, Dai Mubai had 3 points, Oscar had 0, Tang San had 2 because he participated in a 1-on-1 and a 2-on-2 with Xiao Wu. Ma Hongjun had the most points among them, reaching 10, with 3 consecutive victories. Xiao Wu and Tang San both had 2 points, Ning Rongrong had 0, and Zhu Zhuqing had 0 because she lost the match against Tang San in the Soul Duel Arena last time. From Iron to Copper-ranked Soul Masters, it required 100 points, and then to Silver-ranked, it required 1,000 points. They still had a long way to go to reach the goal of the second stage of special training. Because Dai Mubai, Ma Hongjun, and Zhu Zhuqing were already considered advanced in their class, coupled with their outstanding martial souls, they all decided to participate in a 1-on-1 soul duel first and then a 2-on-2. At this time, Oscar's role became evident. With his great sausage as a supply, everyone's soul power and physical strength could be effectively replenished, giving them a greater advantage over ordinary soul masters participating in the duels. Therefore, even participating in 3 duels in one night was not impossible, provided they didn't consume too much soul power in the previous matches. Tang San and Xiao Wu's third soul skills could be considered top-grade soul skills. So even though they had just reached level 30, they still decided to participate in 1-on-1 duels. Tang San had even defeated Dai Mubai before, so he naturally had a good grasp of his strength. Xiao Wu's special ability to make opponents difficult to resist as long as she got close also gave her full confidence. Xiao Wu's strengths and weaknesses were equally obvious. Her advantage lay in being invincible in close combat against opponents of a similar level, but her weakness was that she could only face one opponent at a time. Once facing multiple opponents, her strength would be difficult to exert. And when the opponent's strength exceeded the power of her waist bow, all her skills would become completely useless. As for Oscar and Ning Rongrong, they could only wait for everyone to finish their 1-on-1 soul duels before cooperating with them in the 2-on-2 duels. Night fell. The Soto Grand Soul Arena was bustling as usual every night. Crowds of people began to gather from all directions. As the most traditional and popular entertainment, this place welcomed numerous spectators every day. The wealthy could indulge in ultimate enjoyment here, and even the commoners without much money could still watch the Soul Masters matches. Since the Grand Soul Arena offered some special tickets for commoners at very low prices, as long as they could afford food and clothing, people were willing to come here to watch the Soul Master competitions. After all, just being able to see Soul Masters satisfied the vanity of most commoners. Of course, because they purchased low-priced tickets, what they could see were only some ordinary soul duels. The truly exciting ones were quite expensive. And the Soto City never lacked wealthy people who were willing to spend big. Coupled with the betting organized by the Grand Soul Arena, this place also became where the rich and nobles secretly competed with each other. At this moment, it was getting close to the time when the Grand Soul Arena would begin its routine soul duels. Soon, the 1-on-1 and 2-on-2 peripheral soul duels would commence. The most exciting team battles would be staged after these 2 types of duels were finished. At this moment, a team of 10 people attracted the attention of the crowd preparing to enter the Grand Soul Arena. Because among these 10 people, 7 of them wore the same masks. The green masks looked somewhat funny, but their clothes were all different. Some were gorgeous, some were plain. This group of people was none other than the 7 students from Shrek Academy, along with the 2 deans and the Grandmaster. This time they came to the 13th Subsoul Arena. According to the original plan, they each used their iron-ranked soul emblem to sign up. Under the guidance of the Grandmaster, the 5 who would participate in both 1-on-1 and 2-on-2 soul duels explained their intention to participate in both matches when they registered in 2 different areas. The staff arranged their duel times to avoid overlap. At the same time, Each of them changed the name on their iron-ranked soul emblem, hiding their true names and using the titles they had chosen during the day. Just changing the name alone cost them 10 gold soul coins each. However, since they didn't need to register again this time, the cost was just that much. As long as they won one duel, they could earn back the expense. Tang San and Xiao Wu chose to participate in the 2-on-2 soul duel first, then the 1-on-1, so they naturally went to one area. Oscar and Ning Rongrong had to wait for Dai Mubai and Zhu Zhuqing to finish their 1-on-1 soul duels, so they went to another area first. Flanders and Zhao Wuji followed the larger group into the 1-on-1 soul duel area, while the Grandmaster accompanied Tang San and Xiao Wu to the 2-on-2 soul duel area. Since there were still soul duels to come later, the 2-on-2 soul duels involving groups of 3 or 5 were arranged as the second match in the 2-on-2 area of the 13th Subsoul Arena. Soon, it was their turn to take the stage. The Grandmaster sat in the viewing platform, among the many spectators. Today happened to be the weekend for ordinary people, so there were more spectators in the Grand Soul Arena than usual. Most of the spectators in these sub-arenas were ordinary citizens who were already excited by the first duel, and their shouts were continuous. Tang San and Xiao Wu naturally didn't have much fame. When they walked onto the stage amidst the host's announcement, they didn't receive much applause. Next, let's welcome the opponents of the 3-5 combination, the cat and mouse combination, who have already achieved 4 consecutive victories in the 2-on-2 soul duels. They have achieved unprecedented success in the Soul Sage level competitions. If they can defeat today's opponents, the 3-5 combination, they will complete 5 consecutive victories. Perhaps the next time they appear in the Soto Grand Soul Arena, they will enter the Central Soul Duel area. That is a great honor for Soul Masters. Cat and mouse combination? Hearing these 4 words, Tang San and Xiao Wu glanced at each other. Although they couldn't see each other's expressions behind their masks, they still sensed a hint of amusement in each other's eyes. From the name of the opponent's combination, they could tell that their opponents today would be soul masters specializing in agility. Whether cat or mouse, both excelled in speed. As a control-type soul master, Tang San was naturally the nemesis of agility-type soul masters. With opponents whose level didn't exceed his by 10 levels, the two already had a certain degree of confidence. Soon, amidst a warm cheer and applause, the opponents of the 3-5 combination ascended the soul duel stage. The 2 soul masters who came up were a man and a woman. The woman had a slender figure and looked to be in her 20s. Her striking short red hair and sharp eyes were very eye-catching. She continuously made slight movements with her 10 fingers. Seeing this movement, Tang San immediately judged that this woman should be the cat in the cat and mouse combination. Because Dai Mubai had told him before that for soul masters with feline martial souls, the movement of the 10 fingers was a common action. The man was short in stature, but to Tang San and Xiao Wu's surprise, he was quite fat. His body was even more exaggeratedly round than Ma Hongjuan's, resembling a big round ball. Only his squinted little eyes gave people a slight feeling of a mouse. The skinny cat and the fat mouse gave people a somewhat funny feeling. As the cat and mouse combination ascended the soul duel stage, they naturally observed Tang San and Xiao Wu on the opposite side. When they saw the masks on Tang San and Xiao Wu's faces, they couldn't help but pause. Although some soul masters participating in soul duels would conceal their identities, it was still rare to see masks like this. The skinny cat girl sneered disdainfully, "You hiding your heads and showing your tails, pretending to be mysterious." As the soul duel was about to begin, the emotions of the audience around the soul arena had been fully stirred up. In such a fervent atmosphere, the host didn't dare to delay any longer and immediately announced the start of the second match of the 2-on-2 soul duel in the 13th Subsoul Arena. As the host announced the start, the cat and mouse combination simultaneously activated their soul power, and their bodies underwent rapid transformations. After reaching the 30th level, the changes in the bodies of beast spirit masters during martial soul fusion were greater than before. As Tang San had anticipated, the girl's martial soul was that of a cat. Sharp blades sprang out from her fingertips, A few strands of bright silver appeared among the red hair on her head, her pupils dilated, her upper body crouched down, her ears slightly perked up, and a layer of fine silver fur appeared on her arms. 3 soul rings, one white, one yellow, one purple, all shimmered simultaneously. The fact that the third soul ring could reach the 1,000-year level indicated that the soul skills attached to this girl's soul rings were quite remarkable. As for the transformation of the chubby rat, it looked somewhat comical. His mouth protruded, becoming sharper, with a few additional whiskers, 2 large incisors protruding from beneath his upper lip, and his small eyes became rounder from their previously slit-like shape. The chubby body also crouched down, his 2 forearms becoming thinner, and black claws popped out from his fingertips. His 3 soul rings were also one white, one yellow, one purple. Seeing the opponent reveal their martial souls, Tang San and Xiao Wu didn't waste any time. Xiao Wu skillfully leaped into the air, standing firmly on Tang San's shoulder with one foot, and both of them simultaneously activated their own martial souls. With her long rabbit ears, white fur, and slender legs accentuated by her bright red eyes, all were Xiao Wu's distinctive features. Compared to before, she also had a bit more fur on her arms, although it was finer than the thin fur on the opponent's cat. Similarly, with 2 yellow and 1 purple, a total of 6 soul rings suddenly appeared on the bodies of the 3-5 combination, causing a stir among the spectators on the sidelines. These spectators, who regularly watched soul fights, were naturally very familiar with the levels of soul rings. 200 years and 1,000 years, the 3-5 combination clearly outclassed the opponent, the cat-rat combination, in terms of soul ring levels. The spectators who had originally favored the cat-rat combination underwent a change in attitude, but the atmosphere became even more intense. The more evenly matched the competition, the more exciting it was to watch. The spectators recognized the strength of the 3-5 combination soul rings, so how could the cat-rat combination not see it? But the soul fight had already begun, and they were like arrows on the bowstring, forced to release. The slender cat girl displayed her figure, her legs moving rapidly, and her whole person was like a whirlwind skimming the ground, sweeping towards Tang San and Xiao Wu. The first 2 soul rings on her body lit up simultaneously. Swinging her claws, 10 bright silver claw shadows pierced through the air, all attacking the 2-5 combination. At the same time, her speed reached a terrifying level, and the pressure brought by her soul power instantly soared to its peak. One soul skill was for speed enhancement, the other for claw attacks. Though their names were unknown, Tang San had already made the correct judgment. With a shrug of his shoulder, Xiao Wu, standing on his shoulder, leaped into the air, directly pouncing toward the chubby rat behind. Meanwhile, Tang San's hand circled in front of him, stepping into the ghost shadow perplexing track stance, and he directly employed the crane controlling for dragon capturing skill. He wanted to test just how strong the opponent's soul power was. In a flash of light and shadow, Tang San's body staggered from being pushed back. He was startled inwardly. No wonder the cat-rat combination could win 4 matches in a row. The soul power of this slender cat girl in front of him was probably not weaker than Dai Mubai's. Fortunately, Tang San had simultaneously used ghost shadow perplexing track and crane controlling for dragon capturing, not only dodging the frontal attack, but also using his own mysterious heaven power to deflect the opponent's attack.